Hi, I'm John Kneebone and welcome to Mainline Bait's Carp Fishing TV and another how-to video where we're going to give you a step-by-step guide on a really popular rig and one that's actually been around for quite a long time now, and that's the Chod Rig. So let's get started. You'll need a hook with an outturned eye. I'm going to use a size 6 Choddy Kamakuru hook. You'll need a stiff monofilament for the hook section. This mouth trap is perfect. You'll need a rig ring for the D section of the rig and mounting your hook bait. You'll also need a size 11 ring swivel like this. To perfectly balance the buoyancy of the pop-up, you'll need a little bit of putty as well as some bait floss for attaching that pop-up. The rig is fairly heavy, so you're going to need a reliably buoyant pop-up like one of these cork dust pop-ups. Both the pulley tool and the Chod It tool are really helpful when putting this rig together, and you'll also need a sharp pair of scissors as well as a lighter for blobbing down the knots. Okay, start by taking around about 6-7 inches, around 15 centimeters of the Chod filament. Just cut that away from the spool like so, and we can now attach this stiff monofilament to our hook. Simply thread the line through the back of the eye of the hook, just so that you leave yourself around about 1 inch to 2 inches of tag end there. That's going to be used for creating the D section of the rig. I'm just going to pinch that there, and now I'm trying to leave the natural curve and memory of the line in the same direction and shape as what we want to achieve with the final rig. Okay, now we can make the knotless knot, just wrapping down there 5-6 times down the hook. Then we can take that tag end back through the eye of the hook like so. Just neaten things up a little bit. That's it, just straighten things out, and there we go. We've now created our knotless knot and the hook is attached to the stiff monofilament. Next, dab your finger with a little saliva, push it down onto the rig ring. This will stop it from falling off, and it makes it much easier for attaching to the short tag end that we left from our knotless knot earlier. There we go, that's the rig ring in place. We can now take that short tag end, fold it back on itself, push it back through the eye of the hook and create our D section. I like to pull this D down really tight to the hook. We can open it up again in a moment, and then we can just trim this tag end to around about 1 centimeter long. And because we've pulled this D down tight, now that we blob this tag end, we don't need to go too close to the hook and the knot, potentially damage it. And now we can use our Chod It tool to open that D back up, get a nice circular shape for that rig ring to move around on. And there we go, the hook is attached with a knotless knot, and we've created the perfect D to attach our hook bait. To do this, we're going to use our bait floss. Simply pull away around about 6-7 inches of the bait floss. Just cut that off the spool like so. Now, rather than tying the hook bait to the floss and then tying the floss to the rig ring, I much prefer to take the floss through the rig ring first, and you'll see why in a moment. Once we've done that, we're then going to take one of the tag ends, pass it over my finger like so to create a large loop large enough to hold our hook bait. We then take the tag end, create a second smaller loop like so, and again take the tag end, pass that through both of those loops once, and twice, and just gently tighten that down to create a slip knot. There you go, we've got a sliding loop knot ready to attach our hook bait, so we can now take that pop up, line it up centrally within that loop, pull the two tag ends to tighten down around our hook bait so it won't fall off, and you'll now notice that the knot is not close to the monofilament, and this is why I thread that floss through the rig ring first, because we can now trim off the tag ends of our floss, take a lighter blob them down so that they're securely tightened down to the hook bait and the hook bait won't fall off. But we're not doing this close to the monofilament, and we've got no risks at all of damaging that monofilament. We can now just gently slide the hook bait within the floss so that those knots are down underneath the hook bait, all nice and neat, out of sight and close to that rig ring. Much safer way of making that knot. With the D-section finished and the hook bait attached, we can now take a size 8 ring swivel, thread the main hook link section of the Chod Rig through the small eye of that swivel, and we can now set the height of our Chod Rig. I'm going to go for a fairly short presentation, and then I'm just going to create a half blood knot. So we're going to take the tag end around the hook link twice, back through itself like so. And there you go, you can see we've just created that half blood knot. We only need 2 turns. The stiffness of the filament means that it won't come undone. And then just taking the pulley tool, we can just tighten that whole knot down. And like I say, the stiffness of the mouth trap just means that that knot is impossible to slip through. We'll just trim off the tag end like so, leaving around about 1 centimetre, because we're now going to take the lighter again and just blob the end of that. Okay, that's the tying of the rig complete, and we're almost finished. From pulling those knots down, that little bit of hook link is pretty much dead straight, and we want to change that. We want to add an aggressive curve into that section. And it's really easy to do because of the stiffness of that monofilament. We can easily add some memory. So using my thumb, I'm just rolling it around that section of the hook link to create a curve. And like I say, because of the memory in that stiff monofilament, that curve holds in place like so. There you go, a nice aggressive curve to help the hook turn in the fish's mouth. And we're now going to use this blob knot down on the swivel to help secure a small piece of putty just needed to help balance out that hook bait. So just take a small piece of putty, just pull off a little section like so. As always, I just roll this around in my fingers just to make it more pliable. And we can now take this little piece of putty, push it over the blob knot on the swivel like so. You can now pinch that piece of putty down tightly around that swivel and knot, and using your index finger and thumb, just mould it into a nice neat barrel like shape. And there you go, the Chod Rig is complete and ready to be attached to the rest of the terminal tackle. So as you can see here, I've now attached the Chod Rig to a leader, helicopter or rotary style, so basically spinning on the leader above the lead, and that lead is attached to a heli-safe system which under tension, such as a fish being weeded up, will drop the lead safely. I've then got a buffer bead a few inches above the lead, and that's there to stop the hook potentially hitting the lead during the cast and damaging the hook point. Moving up the leader, I've then got a no trace safety bead, firstly to set the position of the Chod Rig when it comes to rest on the lake bed, but also in the event of a line breakage, this bead means that the fish can ditch both the lead core and the lead safely. So the Chod Rig will slide up to that top bead during the cast, where it will slowly settle over the top of any chod, silt or weed on the lake bed. It can then slide between the 2 beads, meaning that any mouthing fish will potentially not feel any resistance from the rig until it hits that bead, inducing a bolt effect. Our super buoyant cork dust pop-up is holding up that heavy Chod Rig perfectly, and that little bit of putty is just offering enough counterbalance so that the whole presentation sinks nice and slowly to the lake bed. The D section means that the hook bait can only be ejected passing over the eye of the hook, which consequently aims the point of the hook down to the bottom lip to secure a solid hook hold. All these qualities mean that the Chod Rig is a brilliant presentation for casting at showing fish with nice bright high vis pop-ups like this. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the notification button so you know when the next video is coming out. If you don't yet subscribe to the channel, please hit that subscription button below me, we'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more how-to videos and step-by-step guides to rigs and presentations, well, I'll leave a link to those videos here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.